So in today's video, I want to discuss a comment I read on YouTube. This is in response to a post about a lady who wants to essentially marry a man that does not want to marry her, but refuses to give up on the idea of marrying him or to leave him due to religious reasons. The comment dives a little deeper into that line of thinking and just brings up some important points I think a lot of people, mainly women, need to hear. So let's just get into it. A lot of people in different religions are doormats. Not necessarily to other people, but to life itself. The Bible does a great job identifying its followers as sheep, because these people live their lives like small, inoffensive animals, lost and in constant need of guidance. Prayer and a lot of tools given by religion are often powerful tools of self-regulation, be it for emotions or actions. Praying, for example, allows you to remain calm and positive in the face of situations outside your control. So instead of getting relentless and anxious, you get an activity that gives you hope. The weakness of praying is that if you live your life in a passive manner, everything is outside of your control. Then you end up praying to stuff that requires action. And this is how many men and women in religion learn to be helpless, which is an actual concept, by the way, learned helplessness. And I really want to focus not on the religion portion of this comment, but more so on the implications behind learned helplessness, particularly in regards to staying in bad situations. There have been many social media influencers talking about, as well as just social media buzz in general around, the growing dissatisfaction of younger people, mainly women, with traditional relationships. In the East and in Europe, we see this with the growing 4B movement, where more women are choosing to opt out of being in relationships, getting married, and having kids. In the West, we see this with the growing decenter men movement, wherein women are choosing to take a more independent, less patriarchal approach in life. This includes, but is not limited to, things such as speaking out about and leaving abusive relationships sooner, choosing to have a family or home life separate from men, and just sharing more relationship advice and red flags with other women, instead of repressing things and saying, that's just how it is. Yet for all the progress, and yes, even though these movements may seem extreme, it is still progress, because it pushes for a higher standard to be given to men, which in turn helps to decrease certain horrible behaviors, which I talk more about in my Not All Men video. There are still people, mainly women, who stay within very abusive and detrimental relationships and situations. By now, we've probably all heard or read the personal accounts of how she's been married to an abusive, narcissistic, controlling SOB who doesn't let her work, socialize, have fun, all the while forcing her, and often her 2 to 6 kids, to be house servant hostages. We have to sit through the whole, he did this thing that is so horrible that I can't tell anyone but absolute strangers on the internet, but I can't leave him because it's ... complicated. We even have to endure others giving helpful advice, mainly in the vein of leaving the obvious torturers these women have found from God knows where, only to be met with passive defending of the abuser at best, and outright misplaced anger and blame at worst. Because the person on the internet who actually cares enough not to see another human being suffer, to stay, leave the man who doesn't give you money to use feminine products, or who has sex with you while you're sleeping and unconscious without your consent, or who constantly cheats on you, is obviously the bad guy, and not the men doing these problematic behaviors. Duh. That last part was sarcasm, by the way, if you couldn't tell. Sometimes, the reason a woman doesn't leave the relationship is that she has dug herself into a hole she cannot get out of easily, and thus doesn't even want to try. For example, married a much older man between the ages of 18 to 25 who convinced her to be a stay-at-home girlfriend or wife, but also made sure that everything of value remained in his name, as well as convinced her to go no or low contact with family and friends to become truly isolated, so that if she does leave, she's essentially homeless without any real support or a backup plan. Sometimes it is that she is just as problematic as the man she's in a relationship with or married to, so she stays because no one else will put up with the problematic behavior that she herself has, and she doesn't really hate her current relationship enough to change herself for the better. However, and this is what I really want to discuss here today, sometimes she stays because she has this excuse of religion, in which all of this suffering, degradation, and pain that she's experiencing now in her bad relationship or marriage is some sort of ultimate plan or test that will eventually reward her for enduring through all of this. Be it some cosmic karma being doled out on a later date to her horrible boyfriend or husband or spouse, or some reward being given in the afterlife for having made it through a lifetime of suffering. But, like the comment above says, all this is just an excuse. No higher power wants you to endure endless suffering or to endure abuse just to prove your love. Folks who preach about unity and not getting divorced and such don't actually envision situations where you feel like self-deleting every day due to how one single person treats you, or situations where you fear for your literal life. To take teachings and skew them to stay within relationships that do not serve you and actively test your very fate constantly without rest is unfair both to yourself and to your fate. Religion should be a tool and a gift to help you endure unchangeable circumstances, not to shackle you into self-made mistakes. This should also apply to other excuses people give, things such as love, family expectations, and the idea that the person who has been treating you badly will suddenly change due to no outside factors beyond time passing. Take responsibility for your own happiness and peace, because that is something that is actually in your control to a certain degree, and by not doing so, you teach others that it does not matter. And I just want to wrap this up by saying this is not about victim blaming or religion blaming, so much as it is about accountability. I understand that sometimes women are in situations that are not easy to leave, especially when there's money, kids, religion, family, and dignity involved. I understand resources to get out of bad, abusive relationships are not plentiful, or are often inadequate when they do appear. I even understand the sacredness of faith and the teachings in which one chooses to abide and live by. However, sometimes I feel like we must point out that someone is in a situation and continues to be in a situation because of their own poor choices. Choosing to stay for the kids or because it's a sin to leave him will not reward you later on, and is actually harming both you and those involved in the current time. There is no misery quota to fill to be a good person or a faith-based individual. In the end, the real test is having the courage to go against the status quo and actually save yourself, because hey, maybe God could use a little help. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you agree, disagree, and what do you think about staying in bad relationships under the pretense of religion in general? Also, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching.